Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give our honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shah, by Hashem, Kakadash. Give honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, rule well and teach well. Shalom to those like men that scattered abroad, pushing this truth without sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And also shalom to very, very few sincere sisters that's taking heed and getting in order in these last days. I'm your brother Amawan, coming to the quick lesson, low one's edifying to the point. Right, and yesterday, I was able to send, to the bros about what I actually heard yesterday. It's not like that we don't know about prophecy, but it hits even, harder when you hear it when it's at your doorstep. What you've been speaking about, But yesterday I was at work, and I just overhearing, some of the guys on the floor speaking about one dude's situation. I work with a bunch of older cats, so a lot of them, they watch the news but don't really know what's in the news, and don't really know how close things are to their doorstep as well. So one of the guys was just like, he came by and was like, dang, such and such son just got drafted. So I'm like, oh, okay, that what's up? And I was like, to what? And he was like, the military, he got a letter in the mail. So that just, it boosted me up, but I didn't want to just take his word for it before I start, making it towards a lesson. So I was like, you know what, let me ask, do one-on-one. So I just pushed up on him. And I was like, hey, bro, such and such says your son got selected for the draft. He took a sigh. He was like, yeah. And I was like, so, tell me about it. Stuff like that interests me, man. I be, you gotta keep it cold. You gotta keep Clark Kent. I be hearing about the stuff that be going on over there, so it kind of draws me in. So, you don't mind telling me more about it? He was like, yeah, my son, he just turned 18. And he was like, in the letter, it was saying about how, men 18 through 25, gonna be pre-selected for national services, which I had, got pulled up right here, national services, and I was like, he was like for a draft. It's like he was saying you're pre-selected in case a war goes down, So he was like, so most likely it is gonna be a World War III, because why would you have us pre-selected? Why would you have us on standby if it ain't gonna go down? And I was like, yeah, you're right about that. So I was like, yeah, you're right about that. So pretty much, his son is, runners up for this draft, man. And so it was a young cat right there too, and he's 18. He's like, yeah, I'm in the same letter, I'm signed up already. I'm ready. And in my head, I'm like, nigga, you just don't even know he's not coming back home, So just to hear that, right then and there, I know we prophesy. Like I said, I know we prophesy about it. We know it's coming. We know it's going to happen. But just to hear how close it is through somebody else, through their son, it just made everything feel more closer. So us Akim, Aqua, we don't have much longer, man, right? We really just waiting for the MOTB just to, do his thing. So back in the book of Jeremiah 28, and this picture was just up here. This article just be up here. I think I already did a lesson on it already. But with this being said, it had brought out, just a couple of precepts for me. Because once I heard that, I was like, hey, man, once the boys go over there, it ain't no coming back home. And I did a video because I was, referencing, Isaiah 4:1 too. When these folks go over there, the men shall die in battle, man. Right? So go back to Jeremiah 28:8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms. Excuse me. Of war and of evil and of pestilence. And that's the time that we're in, right? For something to the book of Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1, and then jumping down to verse 8. That's the time that we're in. We're in that time of war. We're seeing how the Straits of Hormuz has pretty much ruffled a lot of people's feathers, man, especially America. Right? We're seeing how the weak saying they're strong now. And they're showing it. You know? So I want to go to that book of Second Ezra chapter, I think it's 16. I just want to bring out those 2 points again. Right? And this is why we always, we bring out the book of Romans 13 and 11, knowing that it's high time to wake out of sleep, right? To you Israelites, your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Natives. Right? Because now this is important news, you know. And he was also saying in the draft that he has to be registered by December. He has to be registered by December, or if not, right, it's jail time. And one of the other Jakes, he's a little skinny ass Jake. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny because his dad is actually light skinned. His dad's actually they showed the picture of him. You know what I'm saying? A Judite. But his mom's an Edomite, so he got the complexion of an Edomite. But that's the topic for a different day. But that goes to show you that he, what we call him Wigger. You know what I'm saying? But that's the topic for a different day. But yeah, he was like, I'm ready to go. I was like, man, no, boy, you is not gonna make it back. And he was like, I'd rather die in battle than get raped in prison. I was like, all right, man, conversation over with. But this is second at the 16 and 30, 33. So the virgin shall mourn having no bridegrooms. Right? What would be the cause of that? The virgin shall have no bridegrooms, shall mourn having no bridegrooms. The woman shall mourn having no husbands. Why is that? Their daughters shall mourn having no helpers. It says, in the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. See? And we're seeing both of those happen right now, coming up on a level. Right? The famines. Right, we seeing how there's no fertilizer. Right, we seeing how this is finna go from inflation to hyperinflation. Right, the bees are not pollinating things; they're not doing their job. Why? Because this man is putting things in the air, there's chemicals in the air. It's just messing up shit. And then also you're gonna have these guys that's going off, like this states in that article. They have to be registered for this draft. And like the scripture says, hey, once they go over there, they're not coming back. They can give them that last big meal. And give them the finest steak, crabs, whatever they're gonna put on to give them, and send them on about their way. Cause they ain't coming back home. All right, they gonna be dung. Right over there in the so-called Middle East. So I just wanted to just grab this in the book of Joel 2 and 20. And I just close off from now. I got one more precept from there. If I can find it, there you go. Joel 2 and 20. Landing straight to the point. Yep. It says, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate. Right, going into what, Saudi Arabia, and the northern army will be America. Right, they're going to drive them there. They're going to get on that plane, and that's going to be their last. They're going to be their last ticket somewhere. They really can say they're taking a one way. And his face toward the EC, right, if I'm mistaken, it's the Red Sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. No, that's the Persian Gulf. Is the EC, right? And the hinder part is toward the utmost sea, right? Because he'll be facing, or his behind will be facing the Red Sea. And his stink shall come up, and all his savior shall come up, because he have done great things. And that main thing, right, that stink shall come, because they're gonna be getting dropped, man. They're not gonna be making it back. You know? And let me just to make sure. Slacking. Yeah, Red Sea. It was the hindermost. Yeah. Yeah. To make sure I was saying the right thing. But so yeah, the thing was, this right here is gonna be live and direct, right? Because it said their stink shall come up because they're gonna die in battle, man. You know. So like I said, all in all, that just helped me come up with this quick lesson, because hearing that and to know, knowing the prophecy and to actually hear somebody got to register their son, let me go to show you that, hey man, like Apostle Tar always say, man, we could be up out of here in months, man. And we seeing how the times are flying. It's already Wednesday, man. Before we know it, we'll be right back at camp. So I'm gonna close out one last precept. And I'll go back to the book of 2 Esdras 15. And I'll go to verse 1 and 2. It says, behold, speak down the ears of my people the words of prophecy. Right? When you're speaking of prophecy, you're speaking about an event that's going to happen. Right? But you're speaking about it before time. You're speaking about it before it actually happened. It says, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, right through his servants the prophet. We've been speaking about this thing, and now we're starting to see it come to pass, man. It says, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. See? They're faithful and true. That means they're going to happen, man. And we're just sitting back watching things play out. So Lord willing, this lesson was quick and edifying. I would like to give our honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Kragadash. Shalom.